Welcome to Pastor's Chat today. Well, we're continuing to meditate and look at Luke chapter 22, verses 40 through 46. That gives us the scene of Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane with his disciples. Remember, he left 8 somewheres, we're not sure, but took 3 of them, Peter, James, and John, a little further, and then he told them immediately in verse 40, pray that you enter not into temptation. Now, Matthew's gospel tells us that he said to them at that time, he says, stay here and watch with me. And then he went a little further and fell on his face and prayed. And we know that Jesus, when he prayed the first time, not my will, but thy will be done to the Father, he came back and found the disciples sleeping. So Jesus is praying. He asks them to pray. He needs the comfort and assurance that the disciples are there with him during his time of trial, his time of laying down his life, of accepting the cup of sins of the entire humanity, and he needs that support in prayer. You and I always, if Jesus needed support in prayer, how much more do we need support in prayer? Now, these disciples, instead of praying, all fell asleep. The gospel tells us also in Luke here, verse 45, it says he came after he prayed the last time and found them sleeping from sorrow. They're overwhelmed with the sorrow that Jesus has been telling them, I'm going to die. This is my flesh. This is my blood, as he shared the cup of the Lord's Supper with them and reminded them that the Lamb had to die, and he was the Lamb that was going to die. They're overwhelmed with sorrow. They expected him to set up his kingdom. He's talking about dying. That's why John 14 says, let not your heart be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. In the middle of that, he saw the trouble of their hearts, the sorrow that's overwhelming them. And instead of praying now, they're sleeping because of sorrow. Another gospel tells us that their eyes were heavy with sleep. They were also overwhelmed with just physical tiredness. And that's a bad place for us to get into, where we're emotionally, physically, mentally worn out, that we cannot pray. Jesus said, watch and pray. The second time when he came and found them sleeping, he said to them, watch and pray in the Gospel of Matthew, that you enter not into temptation. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. Remember Peter, if I have to die with you, I will not deny you, okay? The spirit is willing. When we go to church on Sunday morning and hear the message or the Sunday school lesson, and we get around God's people, we feel strengthened, we feel strong, and we leave saying, man, I'm going to serve Jesus this week. I'm going to live for him. I'm not going to go back to those old habits and sins that take me away from him, keep me from praying, and keep me from getting up and spending time with the Lord in the morning. And yet the spirit is willing on Sunday, but Monday morning the flesh is weak. Or when the trial and the time of temptation comes, my friend, the flesh is weak. It's weaker than we ever imagined. Peter didn't know himself as well as he thought he did, and neither do we. Our hearts are deceitful of all things, desperately wicked. Who can know them? And so I learned a great lesson here. Jesus said, watch what? Watch for, he says later, Peter writes later in the 1 Peter chapter 5, be sober, be vigilant. Your adversary, the devil, goes about like a roaring lion. I'm convinced the devil was out to kill Jesus there in the Garden of Gethsemane, to keep him from the cross. I mean, the bastions of hell surrounded Jesus as he goes to the cross. And definitely Satan was there trying already to take him out. And Jesus prays. 3 times he prays. He yields in obedience to the will of the Father. The disciples, what are they doing? Sleeping? So when the minute of temptation comes, what happens with Peter and the disciples? They all forsake him and flee. Jesus stands strong, yields himself as a lamb to the slaughter, and he goes with the soldiers to be crucified. Remember John's gospel, when he said, I am who you're looking for, they fell back to the ground. For a moment he displayed his glory, and they fell back. He could have had 12 legions of angels come and protect him, but my friend, he was willing to be obedient even to the death of the cross. I'm telling you, if we're going to stand in the hour of temptation, we need to make sure that we're praying. Make sure that we're praying. Well, God bless you, and you have a wonderful, wonderful day.